The assignment that breaks you before it builds you. Sarah stared at the rejection email, her fifth this month. The startup she had poured 3 years of her life into was crumbling, investors pulling out one by one. Her apartment lease was ending, her savings dwindling. She closed her laptop and walked to the window, watching the rain streak down the glass like the tears. She was too exhausted to cry. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She had followed all the right steps: college, internships, networking. She had done everything right, or so she thought. The vision board above her desk now seemed like a cruel joke. Pictures of success, innovation awards, and financial freedom mocked her from their neat arrangement. Sometimes the universe dismantles your life not to punish you, but to clear space for something greater, her grandmother had told her once, while kneading dough in her kitchen after Sarah had failed a critical exam in college. The words had seemed like hollow comfort then. Now, they echoed in her mind as she packed her belongings into boxes, carefully wrapping the framed photo of her team on their first day in the now empty office. Moving back to her hometown felt like failure. Each mile on the highway seemed to erase years of progress. Taking a job at the local community center, a far cry from her tech ambitions, felt like punishment. The salary was barely enough to cover her student loan payments. On her first day, she found herself in a small classroom with outdated computers, tasked with teaching basic business skills to a skeptical group of locals who had dreams but lacked resources. "I don't belong here," she thought, as she fumbled through her first presentation. But something unexpected happened when she shared the story of her startup's failure. The room grew quiet, attentive. These aspiring entrepreneurs weren't looking for a success story. They needed someone who understood struggle, who could navigate the pitfalls because she had fallen into them herself. What began as a temporary setback evolved into a calling. The students' eyes lighting up with understanding, their grateful messages, the businesses that actually launched and thrived. This was impact she could see and feel. One student, Marcos, turned his mother's recipes into a catering business that now employed 4 family members. Another, Delia, transformed her craftwork into an online store that shipped nationwide. Sarah found herself staying late, creating better curriculum, connecting students with resources she would hunt down relentlessly. Her network of former colleagues, initially approached with embarrassment, became enthusiastic mentors and occasional investors for her students' ventures. The community center director noticed. "You've built something special here," he told her one evening as she was leaving. "These people aren't just learning business, they're finding hope." 3 years later, Sarah stood before a crowd at a regional economic development conference, sharing her journey from failed entrepreneur to successful educator and mentor. The painful dismantling of her previous life hadn't been the end, it had been preparation. Her program had now been replicated in 5 neighboring towns, creating over 100 new small businesses and revitalizing struggling local economies. "What feels like breaking is often just the necessary deconstruction before rebuilding," she told the audience. "The assignment that breaks you is usually preparing you for the purpose that will build you into something stronger than before. My failure wasn't failure, it was research, experience, and credibility that I now pass on to others." In the audience sat Marcos, now running a successful catering business that employed 15 people in their small town. Next to him was Delia, whose crafts now sold in boutiques across 3 states. Behind them were dozens of other graduates, each with their own story of transformation. That evening, Sarah found herself back at her grandmother's kitchen table, this time sharing stories of her students' successes. "I was so angry when my startup failed," she admitted. "I felt like God or the universe or whatever was punishing me. But now I see it was just clearing the path." Her grandmother smiled, her aged hands wrapping around Sarah's. Divine purpose often looks like demolition before it looks like construction. The greatest buildings are built where something else once stood. Sometimes purpose arrives wearing the disguise of disappointment. Sometimes the path forward requires stepping backward first. But with time and perseverance, the disguise falls away, revealing the gift. It always was not punishment, but preparation for something far greater than we could have designed for ourselves.